Hello BookTube. This is the beginning of week 4 of my 2023 library tour. Today I will be continuing on with science fiction and fantasy. I'm moving over to this shelving unit that I have turned into a bookcase. The first 3 books are by China Miéville. This is Perdido Street Station, the first of the Boss Log trilogy, and one of the greatest works of science fiction and fantasy of the 21st century. It is also one of my favorites, and it's been far too long since I've read it. And it's really been far too long since I've read the rest of the Boss Log series too. This is the sequel, The Scar, which is amazing as well. Iron Council is the third and final volume, which is not as good as the other two, I think. The next 2 books are by Michael Moorcock. This is The Bull and the Spear, the 4th book of Quorum, one of Michael Moorcock's mini-series. I've never gotten around to it. I think I also have The Champion of Garethorm, also by Michael Moorcock, the 2nd book of the Chronicles of Castle Brass. I'm pretty sure I've got some of the other ones here somewhere. Next are the 2 works of the 2 fantasy novels by Marlon James. First up is Black Leopard, Red Wolf. This is a epic fantasy, although I would argue it's more of a sword and sorcery set in a world inspired by Africa that has mixed opinions. I've not quite had the best of luck. And the sequel is Moon Witch Spider King, which came out last year. I also have The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. This is a space opera that came out about 3 or 4 years ago, and I didn't quite get on with it. The next 3 books are by Marshall Ryan Moresca. The first 3 of them are 3 Merryday novels. The first is The Thorn of Denton Hill. The Merryday series is basically like the Marvel Cinematic Universe in book form. And what I have is a trilogy starring a kind of sort of superhero. The second book in the series is The Alchemy of Chaos. And I haven't gotten around to any of these yet. But I picked them up because Thomas of SFF 180 is a fan of Moresca's work and is, I think, a bit of a friend of friendly with Moresca as well. And the final book is The Impostors of Aventille. And outside of the Merryday series, he has a work that is, I want to say, is standalone, at least for now. The Velocity of Revolution, which I also have not gotten around to yet. Next is the first book in an epic fantasy, I want to say trilogy, The Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell, which I have yet to get to. It came out about 3 years ago, give or take. I don't remember if it was 2000 or 2001. Next is the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. The 5th season. which won a number of awards. I've had 2 goes at, and I haven't gotten on with. And I honestly don't really get on with N.K. Jemisin's work. The sequel is The Obelisk Gate. And the third book is The Stone Sky. The next 4 books are the 4 volumes of The Legend of the Condor Heroes by Jin Yong, which came out over the past few years. And The Legend of the Condor Heroes is the first book in a trilogy, or I guess you could say the first quartet of a trilogy of historical wuxia novels, which Jin Yong is the master of. So the first volume is A Hero Born, and I picked these up from Book Depository from Michael Hose. And so the Legend of the Condor Hero series is about 2 young men who are sworn brothers who end up fighting each other. The second volume is A Bond Undone. The third volume is A Snake Lies Waiting. And the fourth volume is A Heart Divided. And the first volume of the second book in the trilogy, Return of the Condor Heroes, or Romance of the Condor Heroes, will be coming out later this year. So probably next year will be when they come out in the US. Although I've picked these up from Book Depository out of the UK. Even though I honestly think the American covers are slightly better. But anyway. I also have 2 other books by Jin Yong. This is Foxville Land of the Snowy Mountain, which takes place later in the Qing Dynasty. The Legend of the Condor Hero series takes place in the end of the Song Dynasty. Before the Mongol conquest of southern China. I also have The Book and the Sword, which also takes place in the Qing Dynasty. I haven't gotten to this one yet. I also have a few works by Ursula K. Le Guin. I have an omnibus edition that includes The Left Hand of Darkness, or Cannon's World, Planet of Exile, City of Illusions, and The Word for World is Forest. And I have The Dispossessed, which is another novel in her sci-fi universe that I read when I was a teaching assistant for a class 1 year. This is Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence, the first book in the Broken Empire series. Mark Lawrence has a wide array of mostly grimdark fantasy series under his belt. I think this is his first one, and I have yet to get to. And in fact, I'm kind of dreading it. Next are the Machineries of Empire trilogy by Yoon Ha Lee. First up is Nine Fox Gambit, which is amazing. I love this trilogy. Next is Raven Stratagem, which is also really good. And the final book in the trilogy, Revenant Gun, which is also amazing. Next, I have 2 books by J. Lake, The Sky That Raps, which I want to say is a short story collection that I really need to get to, which is signed. Huh. I did not know that. Cool. I also have a novel by him, The Trial of Flowers. And I haven't gotten to either one yet. I really need to. And next I have a omnibus edition of works by Fritz Leiber, the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. This is Three of Swords, which includes Swords in Deviltry, Swords Against Death, and Swords in the Mist. And I picked this up from a Friends at the Library book sale a few years ago. Next is my Kenneth Lee collection. Kenneth Lee is or was a major science fiction and fantasy author from in like the 70s and 80s and into the 90s, whose career unfortunately petered out in the 2000s and 2010s before her death, although there seems to have been a bit of a renaissance shortly after her death, although I don't know if that's really sustained itself. But first is the first book of hers I've ever owned, and that is Faces Underwater, which is the first book in the Secret Books of Venus series, which is an alternate Venice. And this was really good, I remember. Although I haven't gone back to it in ages. Next is The Birthgrave, which is the first book in a trilogy. And this is in one of the newer editions. I also have Vascor, Son of Vascor, in an older edition. And Quest for the White Witch. I also have The Stormlord, which is the first book in another trilogy. And Akire, which is the second book in that trilogy. And The White Serpent, which concludes the trilogy. I also have Heroine of the World. And I picked up most of these from a used bookstore in Waco called Golden's, which is one of my favorites. It's also have Red Unicorn, Gold Unicorn, and Black Unicorn in a hardcover edition. And I also have a bind-up edition of Tales from the Flat Earth, The Lords of Darkness, which is I think there's actually 5 volumes in the series. This one has this one's been beaten up. So it has Night's Master, Death's Master, and Delusion's Master. I mean, there are, I think, 2 more. Night's Master is fairly good. Death's Master is amazing, if I remember correctly. It's been far too long since I've read them. And finally, I have The Secret Books of Paradise. in a bind-up edition, which include the Book of the Damned, the Book of the Beast, the Book of the Dead, which actually seems to be more of a short story collection, and the Book of the Mad. So, anyway, that concludes these first two shelves on this bookcase. I will be back tomorrow with the second two on this side, and then Wednesday and Thursday will be the ones on the other side. Let me know how this setup works, and whether or not it kind of worked, or if I maybe should do something to get the camera a little closer to me as I do the book. So, any BookTube, I might be back later this evening with a discussion video. So if I see you then, or if I see you tomorrow with a continuation of the library tour, whichever happens. Thank you. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.